Alright, hey guys, it's Cardo. Welcome to the first ever ceramic coating video for the channel. We're going to be doing a coating on this Cadillac Escalade that's been a bit of a rough condition, but we're going to be treating it to a simple 3-step procedure. We're going to be doing a Decon strip wash, we're going to polish it very lightly, and then we're going to coat it afterwards. Satisfying visuals paired with some narrative commentary, so let's get started. It is now here. After so many requests, I've finally showcased the first ceramic coating installation and the first paint enhancement for the channel. Now originally the client wanted a Decon and ceramic coating, but they upgraded their service to a paint enhancement, so I will elaborate on that later in the video. It was a long awaited service for my business, and what better way to show this than this luxurious Cadillac Escalade that unfortunately had seen better days. It had been roughly 4 entire months since its last detail or even a basic wash, and given that there was a lot of rainfall here in California, the contamination was clearly out of control. Traffic film, abrasive dust, bird bombs, rust spots, brown tires, water spots, pollen, grime stains, and other earthly materials had taken shelter on this vehicle that had once shined beautifully. Despite all of the contamination, I could tell the clear coat was still healthy underneath the bombardment of sins, and now that isn't in my care, I will show you guys the whole procedure on how I recondition a car like this to bring back that gloss. There was a lot of work to do here, seriously, there was a lot of work to do here. With 3 days of labor, approximately 130 gigabytes of footage, and a lot of chemicals and towels used, you guys are in for a treat. So grab a couple of snacks, kick back, and enjoy the video. Usually I don't showcase stronger cleaners because the cars I typically work on don't need it, but in this case where the grime and contamination had gotten out of hand, I need to use products that can deliver heavy punches to shift all of that dirt effectively without inflicting any physical damage to the bodywork and paint. Specialized detergents and advanced techniques are always practiced to deliver a quality result that can meet the customer's expectations. And of course, everything that I had used in this video will be listed in the description down below for you to check out in case you would like to support this channel. Enough talk, and let's get to work. Before addressing the paintwork, I would need to first tackle the wheels, tires, and fenders to avoid dirty splashback on a clean exterior. I grab a couple of brushes for the meticulous areas, some wheel cleaners to deal with the brake dust, and a wheel and tire degreaser to treat the tires and fenders, and a splash of high cleaning soap to lubricate my brushes to avoid any potential swirls for the chrome finished wheels. Serves as a great precaution if you ask me. Now to clean the dirty boots. Rinsing the water first on heavily contaminated wheels like these won't really accomplish anything, chemically speaking. So instead I pre-treated the surface dry to uplift any contamination in a safe and contactless manner. I sprayed a fallout remover from P&S on the face of the wheel and in the barrel to melt away any stubborn and abrasive brake dust that can interfere with the wash. I then sprayed some wheel and tire cleaner from Shine Supply on the tires and fenders to degrease the grime directly, creating an oozy mess that is oddly satisfying to look at. I always use the pre-trim procedure in all of my services as a precaution to safely loosen any contamination prior to using physical techniques. After letting the active cleaners dwell for a minute or two, the surface was all rinsed away thoroughly, revealing a much safer and cleaner surface to work on. First up were the tires and fenders. I sprayed some solution on the tires and used a proprietary tire brush to agitate the cleaner until I see that iconic chocolate milk looking foam. This is completely normal and is an indicator that the cleaner is indeed pulling off any old dressings and stuck on grime to allow for a new coat of tire shine. Next I cleaned the fenders. Same thing like the tires, I sprayed some cleaner and agitated it with a set of tools. A long-reach fender brush was used to scrub the fabric-based surface, brushing every bit of dirt and particles, and a soft microfiber wash mitt to carefully wipe the painted area just where the fender and exterior paint meets. Having more than one tool for the job creates a safer and more effective wash, tackling key areas where one tool would struggle. After that, I gently rinsed the area to safely flush out any grime and chemicals that can interfere with the wheel cleaning session. And just to be super sure that the tire was clean, I sprayed a small area with some solution and agitated it to check if the foam remained white, which it did. If it was brown, then I would have to go back and work on it again until a clean surface was achieved. Next up was the wheel. Instead of the fallout remover, I decided to step it up to a dedicated active wheel cleaner from the German brand Kosh Chemie and its advanced chemistry to lubricate and thoroughly clean the stuck-on brake dust and water spots with ease. This was sprayed on the face of the wheel and inside the barrel to get enough coverage with its viscous solution. Just like every other area, using dedicated tools can help achieve a further deep clean for the wash, while safely rinsing each tool after each session to avoid cross-contamination in the bucket solution. I used a barrel brush to tickle the brake dust inside with its fibers, dislodging any impurities that could be on the surface. Thoroughly scrubbing the barrel and the caliper area helps achieve a cleaner result, especially when the spacing for the spokes are wide enough to go inside. So going over everything is a must for a presentable appearance. The face of the wheel was next. Here I used a soft microfiber washment to gently agitate the cleaner without inflicting any defects. The mitt was primed with some soapy solution and the wheel cleaner has lubricative agents, so by taking necessary procedures I can ensure that the surface was being thoroughly cleansed without causing any swirls or damage to the chrome finish. After a gentle wheel wash, the intricate areas were addressed with a small detail brush to tickle small gaps where the other tools could not reach. Areas like the lug nuts, wheel valve stem, wheel border, and other intricate designs were addressed with a soft boar's hair brush so no gap was left unattended. Then a thorough rinse was done to flush out any remaining active chemical to conclude the wheel, fender, and tire deep clean procedure. Now that the boots had been thoroughly cleaned, I then move on to the exterior body for an inspection and to adjust any techniques based off my analysis. From initial observations, I can immediately tell that a simple rinse will not accomplish anything, as the stuck-on contamination and water-repelling traffic film prevents any work to be done. From here, we need to step it up to a more effective procedure to allow a safer bath for the vehicle. Now, if you have been following my channel for a while, you would know that I am in favor of the pre-wash technique, as it safely and effectively uplifts any dirt and grime without touching the vehicle. I typically use a car shampoo as my mixture, but after seeing what was on the vehicle, a more powerful detergent was called to order to maximize the effectiveness of the pre-wash. Here I am going to be using APC from Gyeon as my pre-wash solution at the 1:3 dilution ratio. Big disclaimer, if you do not understand how this method works or don't have much experience with alkaline pre-treatments, I strongly do not recommend anyone from trying this out on any vehicle, especially at this dilution ratio. Under no circumstances should any detailers who lack the knowledge or experience of this procedure attempt this, as it could potentially cause surface defects if not handled properly. So if you do, proceed at your own risk. Setting my foam cannon to max foaming output, I pulled the trigger and lathered the whole vehicle dry in some high cleaning bubbles to safely and effectively work on the surface grime. All the surfaces were blanketed with the pre-wash mixture, ensuring that there was enough solution to dwell on the vehicle. This APC foams very nicely and can allow for longer dwell time until it was time to rinse away. I let the high cleaning bubbles sit for a few minutes, and as you can see, all of the 3-month-old burr bombs were just melting away, leaving dark mustard lines as an indicator that the pre-wash mixture is indeed cleansing the surface of its impurities. The white foam had a noticeable yellow-brown hue to it that was oddly satisfying to look at. Months of contamination, the grime was just left sitting there unattended, and now can be addressed in the present with a service that would bring back that gloss that the paint once had. And just as a precaution, I did another pre-wash session just to be sure that there was enough product to safely loosen up any abrasive dirt before rinsing off. After a couple additional minutes of dwelling, it was then time to flush out the solution and the grime along with it. The dirt and contamination was rinsed away with ease, revealing a much cleaner and safer surface to work on. Because I used an active cleaner, I wanted to ensure that all of the gritty grime was thoroughly rinsed off. Because of this, I had to pressure wash the whole car for almost a solid 8 minutes. It doesn't sound like much, but for just rinsing the car with water is quite a lot. But on the bright side, I managed to remove a thick layer of traffic film and abrasive dirt that would have caused damage during the contact wash, so following these procedures wasn't such a bad idea. After a powerful and effective pre-wash, it was then time to address the intricate areas. Here I used the same APC solution at 1 to 5 dilution and a soft boar's hair brush to tickle the crevices to dislodge any stuck-on contaminants where they usually tend to hide. Now this is prior to contact washing, mainly to avoid having drip drops of dirt from making its way into the contact wash. Especially on vehicles like this Escalade where every single pebble of earth or fine abrasive can cause damage if accidentally caught in the washman. Areas like the grille, emblems, exposed panel gaps, badges, windows, door handles are all common places for the dirt to hide. So by using an alkaline cleaner and soft fibers can further cleanse the surface of its impurities before the contact wash. Now one can think, well, what if I just don't clean those areas? Well, if that were the case, you would immediately notice your washman getting contaminated heavily with lots of nasty dirt lines on the fibers. The most common area are the windows on the lower rubber border. It collects so much dirt that if you had wiped your washman over that, you would be contaminating your washman with abrasive dirt, which would then make its way into your wash media. So to avoid this, a non-absorbent detail brush with a dedicated cleaner was used to address those areas to further cleanse the intricate areas while ensuring a safe contact wash on the next procedure. Detailing is not just about cleaning cars. Detailing is about how much can you clean without jeopardizing the integrity and finish of the vehicle, especially on delicate high-ticket services like this paint enhancement and ceramic coating detail. Now, the detail brush procedure did take some time considering the exposed panel gaps contained a lot of dirt, but thankfully it was dealt with and the car was ready for the next step. I then moved on to the fun stuff, the contact wash. Because this was a decontamination service, I had to prepare the surface prior to polishing. Removing any waxes or grimy residues from the surface is key to ensure I have a clean surface to work on. I prepped my wash media with an acidic car shampoo from Car Pro called Decon to further cleanse the surface from any hard to remove dirt and to strip off any paint protection that could be lingering. The shampoo was diluted at 1 to 10 and the bucket with a couple of glugs until it was slick enough to my liking. I didn't use a wash mitt, but instead using several clean, multi-purpose towels and a long-reach wash mitt. I will elaborate on this in a minute. For the contact wash, I started with the top and worked my way down. Decontamination detail or standard wash, no matter the service, I always foam one area at a time because I want to ensure I have plenty of lubrication for when I glide the wash mitt over. If I had foamed the whole car, by the time I get to the sides, most of the spent product would have dripped off the surface. Because I am using a high cleaning shampoo, having enough product not only lubricates the surface, but allows the cleaners to do their thing as I agitate it on the panels. Same thing can be applied if it was a pH neutral or alkaline shampoo. In this case that I was using Car Pro D-Scale, this acidic based shampoo will assist in breaking down any stubborn water spots, tough embedded dirt, and also help shock and loosen any old waxes and sealants that would interfere with the polishing and coating application. I may take a bit more time foaming each area one by one, but I think in a high ticket and high responsibility job like this, there is no room for compromises and all precautions must be taken to ensure a proper detail is not only done professionally, but the steps to get there is a smooth procedure for the detailer as well. Continuing what I said about using microfiber towels instead of wash mitts during the contact wash, allow me to explain. Remember how gritty this car looked? Full of abrasive contamination, bird bombs, and other unsightly sins. If I had used the 2-bucket system, I would be introducing those impurities into the wash media, which would then contaminate both buckets after several dunks and, to put it simple, fill my wash mitts with abrasive water that would very likely swirl the surface even more. For this decontamination service, yeah, I would be polishing after regardless, but because this vehicle was in such a state, I didn't want to be degrading my premium wash mitts quickly from this project alone. So instead, I used multiple soft and clean microfiber towels that would grant me 8 sides to work with compared to the 2 from the traditional wash mitt. After all 8 sides had been used, I then discard the towel in a separate empty bucket and just grab another clean one instead of wasting my time trying to grind the fibers on a grit guard that may or may not filter out the impurities. So with this procedure, I used less water, worked safely, and more effectively, allowing clean towels to do the cleaning instead of using dirty wash mitts. Now, trying to perform the strip wash while recording is a bit of a challenge since using strong detergents can lead to rough streaking issues on the surface. It was a cool and cloudy day, so it was more forgiving than being in brutal heat under the rays of the sun. I noticed some streaks were getting out of hand, so to combat this, I foamed the whole vehicle with the same solution again to reactivate the dried soap and to loosen any more contamination before I used the clay bar. Not a must. But like I said, all of these steps are to ensure that the next procedures can begin with no room for compromises. This can also be done with other pH neutral or alkaline shampoos. As long as there is enough soap to water mixture, the spent product can reactivate and rinse off with ease. It was then time for the arguably best smelling procedure for any detailer, the fallout remover process. Here I will remove the embedded iron deposits and rust spots via chemical removal. Before exposing myself to the influx of rotten egg smelling fumes, I covered up as much as I can since this odor can linger on your skin for some time. I chose a face mask, some eye protection, and a jacket that would be tossed in the laundry afterwards. It's not fancy PPE, but better than nothing, I say. This 2018 Cadillac Escalade had seen a lot. With roughly about 5 years worth of iron deposits, I start with the whole front of the vehicle so I can see what I'm working with. I sprayed liberal amounts of fallout remover on the surface and let it dwell for roughly 2 to 3 minutes without letting the product dry up. Because this vehicle had not been decontaminated since first ownership, a generous amount must be applied and enough dwell time to ensure that all metal-based impurities were broken down to make the clay procedure much less taxing on the paint. I bring the camera in closer, and after letting the chemical do its thing for about 2 minutes according to my video length, and using the white colored paint on the car, we can see how much iron particles were melted away. The whole area was bleeding with so much wine plum colored streaks that it was oddly satisfying to look at. It is always amazing to witness years of contamination being uplifted layer by layer via chemical removal. Yeah, my whole driveway smells terrible, but it's part of the process to achieve high quality results for this Decon strip wash prior to coating installation. After about 5 minutes, I then start rinsing away all of the spent product, working from top to bottom, ensuring enough water flushes out any clumps of fallout remover residue. It was hard to tell on camera, but seeing all the nasty purple iron chemical being rinsed away is a breath of fresh air for the paint. There was a noticeable change in water behavior on the panels. Instead of beading, it was really flat, creating one whole sheet of water, which tells me I very likely shocked and significantly stripped off any previous paint protectants. There may be a bit of wax lingering on the surface, but worry not, because that will be addressed in the clay and polishing procedure later in the detail. So for now, a chemical treatment will be performed prior to coating installation. I find it funny how right when I was done with the iron remover process, the sun decided to unleash powerful rays and the clouds leaving the region entirely free, somewhat clear sky. I still had one more decon step left, so I had to move quickly before the next major procedure. Now,
While some iron removers are pH neutral, there are some that can be acidic after its chemical reaction. To be certain there was no chemical residue left over and that the panel was neutralized, I foamed the whole car once more with a pH neutral car shampoo. The one I used was Kosh Chemi's GSF Gentle Snow Foam. I chose this shampoo in particular because not only does it rinse freely and is pH neutral, but the unique fruity scent it has will neutralize that rotten egg smell lingering within the body panels and the driveway of my shop. Not a must, but definitely will help me since I will be working on this vehicle for multiple days. And talk about perfect timing, the sun was shining beautifully, but the rays were scorching hot, similar to that of Southern Californian beaches. Thankfully, I am using a soap that rinses freely with no streaks, and I am using deionized water for a spot-free rinse and effortless drying process. After an influx of water, I move the car out of the driveway so I can set up the canopies. I am using two wide canopies measuring at approximately 10 by 15 feet, and I set them up horizontally to get maximum coverage on the sides and to protect myself from the rays of the sun. It is a bit of a chore to set them up, but I am glad I got them just in time for summer because there was a lot of limitations for detailing when it comes to working in the sun, especially on delicate surfaces like paint polishing and ceramic coating installations. Even if there was a heat wave, because I am in the shade, I can now work in peace knowing that the chemicals used won't dry up. The vehicle itself is cool, but most importantly, I am protected from the rays of the sun, and I think that is the best part of having the canopy set up, especially with the brutal summer that is approaching rapidly here in Southern California. After a quick lunch break, it was then time to clay bar the whole entire vehicle. Literally, what you are seeing is all I'm going to use. A bunch of towels, a premium medium level clay bar, and a lubricant / panel prep. And that's it. Pretty straightforward. The clay bar I chose was from a Swedish brand called Pure Est. The unboxing was quite nice actually. The clay bar arrived wrapped in plastic and it was sealed in a plastic container for storage. It was tough trying to yank out a piece from the block, but it was doable with a spritz of liquid to soften it up. For lubrication, I actually do not use a dedicated clay lube product, but instead an IPA. Not only is it great at lubrication, but I am also, as the name implies, preparing the paint by removing any remaining waxes or oils that could be lingering on the surface. Because I'm going to be polishing afterwards, I would like to have that peace of mind that my foam pads are not getting junked with contamination that could have been avoided. So to ensure everything goes smoothly and tackling two jobs at once, I used an IPA in synchro with a clay bar to maximize the decontamination process. Now, at the speed you guys are watching is literally the speed I maintained throughout this entire massive SUV with a lot of painted areas. There was a lot of contamination where I needed to take the time to dislodge any stuck-on impurities. This is a super lengthy process to make sure that the surface is as buttery smooth as possible prior to coating. This Escalade definitely had a lot of contamination such as large rust spots and stubborn bird feces. Claying the entire SUV is a laborsome process and a high ticket cost, but you are paying for a quality service to be done to make sure that your paint was properly deconned for that buttery smooth glass feel. I had seen cheap detailers take advantage of customers with aggressive heavy duty clay bars on those clay and seal surfaces, but what ends up happening is the paint gets marred and swirled to absolute oblivion and delivered back in such a worse state than previous. I find it distasteful that some businesses would use such techniques for the sake of saving time and money. I said it many times, you get what you pay for. So here I used a medium level clay and gently went over section by section until the surface felt as smooth as glass. Because the ceramic coating I was installing is slippery slick, having a clean particle-free surface is mandatory to ensure proper adhesion and near zero friction after the coating had cured. Not only installing a coating with random impurities underneath is unprofessional, but it is a disservice to the customer after they had dropped hundreds or even thousands of dollars on a luxury service. So in my case, everything that was going to get coated received the slow and steady clay bar treatment to secure my credibility, but also guaranteeing the results I had promised to the client. I am a man of my word, and I will not jeopardize my name for the sake of saving time or money. Now I will show you a zoom up on why it is important to remove the contaminants from the paint prior to polishing and coating. Observe the fine orange-black speckles you see. Those are impurities that are stuck on the clear coat and cannot be removed with a simple wash. So I pass the clay bar and medium pressure and work in the material until the dots are no longer visible or when the paint and clay bar makes no noise when gliding it over. Then I wiped away the residue and you can clearly see it is a whole lot cleaner, and arguably the white paint is brighter because there are no dark speckles making the paint look dull. Now imagine the whole vehicle contaminated with iron fallout. Yeah, that explains why some cars that never received a clay have paint finishes that just aren't bright, because the orange darkened hue make the paint overall dull and lifeless. So by treating the surfaces with a decontamination service can bring a lot of life to the finish, or even better with the polish and coating like I am doing here. Something a wash would not be able to do no matter how many times you scrub it. One day later, California decided to spin the wheel on what the weather would be like, because I was greeted in the morning with a light amount of rain and humidity that made its way between the gap of my two canopies. It didn't bother me too much. I just had to push the water out of the canopy so it doesn't drop a gallon of rainwater on top of my head. Rain or shine, the work had to be done, so it was then time to move on to the next part, which is the polishing process. A cart was prepped with everything that I needed to do the job. Some polish, DI water, an IPA, my 3H polisher, which I will explain in a minute, and a light supply of pads and towels. Last minute, the client actually informed me to do a paint enhancement instead of an ultrafine polish that is included with my Decon service, which will be located in my website. So that means I was going to tackle some of the paint defects. To make sure what pad and polish combo to use, I did a test spot, adjusted my arm speed, and work in the polish to see what kind of paint this is. After some up, down, left, right motions, I wipe off the spent product, and holy crap, the paint had a significant boost in gloss, slickness, and I managed to remove about 40% of the defects, which is a perfect number for the standard paint enhancement. Any more than that would be classified as a paint correction, to which the customer did not authorize nor paid for. The product combination was Kosh Chemi's fine cut and a soft finishing pad at light to medium hand pressure. I was surprised how much it had cleared up with such a gentle polish, which means less hassle for me, but most importantly, I do not have to chop off a chunk of clear coat. So with this pad polish combination and a paint enhancement request, this vehicle is going to look dripping wet after the polishing procedure. Just like the clay bar process, polishing is an art, and it is a service that should never be rushed. So with that said, polishing this massive Escalade took a lot of time trying to get every painted area addressed at the same speed, hand pressure, polish amounts, and overall consistent work results. I am not going to show every single nook and cranny that I had corrected because, this would turn into a 4-hour video, but enjoy the couple of shots I had compiled for this showcase. There were some areas where the polisher could not be used, such as the door handles and the gap between the mirrors and the door. So from there, I just manually polish by hand and give it a damn good scrub with a lot of elbow grease. Slowly, but surely removing defect after another. Now, about my polisher, I know some detailers are going to ask why am I using a small 3-inch polisher on a massive SUV with a lot of flat body panels that a larger machine could have handled. Well, funny story, because I actually sold my 5-inch polisher some time ago to a detailer after I was clearing up my garage. At the time, I was trying to save up some money for some upgrades on my pressure washer setup, like new swivel fittings, nozzles, and other cool stuff I wanted for the wash procedure. Literally a day before that I was going to film this video, I had realized last minute that I did not have a standard size polisher for this large SUV. While I could have just bought one from a local shop, instead I wanted to work with what I got. After all, my wallet was on a bit of a diet, so I adjusted my workflow to implement the 3-inch polisher. Yes, I took more time, but it was not impossible either. It was functional, to say the least. It was a unique and hilarious experience polishing a whole SUV with this small machine, and honestly man, if it works and money is a bit tight, there's no need to spend and work with what you got, especially if you are just starting out. So off camera, I spoke with the client on what areas were going to get ceramic coated. We negotiated for a while and concluded that they did not want to ceramic coat the roof of the vehicle for specific reasons. I did not question it, but of course I cannot just leave bare paint untreated, so for the roof I switched my pad and polish combination to have somewhat similar cut, and for the polish to leave a protective layer behind. Here I used Kosh Chemi's P301 microcut and finish as an all-in-one polish to get a pretty solid amount of defect removal while leaving a paint protectant behind. Now, just like the hood, a stepping stool was needed to reach the center, as well as a bit of adjustment in my pressure to work in the spent product. This procedure was not difficult by no means, and while it would have been nice to coat the area like the rest of the vehicle, I have to remember to serve the customer's requests and perform what we had agreed to, and nothing else, I say. It's amazing how a whole day of polishing resulted in a beautiful finish that I am sure many of you can see how dripping wet this paint looks. The gloss is definitely bright and pairs nicely with the white pearl colored paintwork. It is much smoother than what it was on arrival, and most importantly, it is now ready for coating installation. Yes, there are some spots of bird etchings and some fine water spots here and there, but remember, this is a paint enhancement, not correction. The customer was aware of it and is okay with the limitations of a paint enhancement service. So we had agreed on that and proceeded based off their request, and honestly the results are still stunning compared to its previous state. The paint was ready to go, however I still had one more area to polish, and this is not included in my polishing or coating services. The client requested that I polished the water spot bombarded glass to rid all of those fine dots and speckles that can be seen at every angle. For this procedure, I switched my pad and polish once more for a bit more bite, since glass is a bit harder than clear coat. I stayed with Kosh Chemi's fine cut polish and stepped it up to a cutting foam pad for more abrasion. Now, observing the glass, you can see there is a lot of contamination from just the few angles I was trying to capture. I tried chemical removal off camera, and unfortunately the spots were quite embedded and that the need for physical abrasion was called to order. There was not much to talk about here since the procedure and thought process was literally the same as the paint, so enjoy these few scenes of me correcting the glass. Finally, all of the tough work had been completed and I am so happy with the results. It was getting pretty dark, so for obvious reasons I was not going to coat the vehicle just yet and wait until tomorrow when the weather is less humid and chilly. You guys can't imagine how physically taxing this project is, having to maintain a certain posture, arm pressure, height adjustment, and other adaptations to ensure that I'm claying and polishing all of the surfaces consistently. I am not at the finish line yet, but I could classify this as the halfway point. The more fun stuff would be unpacked the next day, so for now, the vehicle will be underneath the canopy once more for its final day of the coating project. Day number 3, the day where I finish everything. The weather was nice. However, when I was polishing the paint the day before, I had noticed that all of the plastic trim pieces had some contamination or water spots that stood out like a sore thumb to the overly glossy paintwork, and honestly that is something I cannot overlook and deliver to the client. So after communicating with them, they had agreed to polishing those plastic pieces, which is a huge bonus for me considering I started with just a decon and coating installation. Good day for me, I say. So I hold off on the coating installation and focus on addressing those areas first. For the plastics, I used fine cut and a regular microfiber towel to bend it to shape according to the trim. I don't have a machine with micro attachments for small polishing, so I will get to town with the plastic pieces gently by hand. Yes, this will take me more time, but that is okay. I'm not going to rush this step to secure a quality finish. So I start on the grill and work on my way section by section until the contamination had been removed to an acceptable level according to the surface requested. While not difficult, because these are small areas, it requires an equal amount of attention as the larger panels. The water spots camouflage quite well with the gray colored plastic trim, so having a sharp eye for those pesky spots is necessary to be sure that it had been thoroughly worked on. And that is just the grill. There are a lot of plastic pieces on this vehicle. While not as complicated as maybe like a Chevy Silverado chrome front grille, this Escalade has a lot of cramped areas where the spots can hide. Most of the spots were on the driver's side. The customer had informed me that a sprinkler went off a couple months back, which is surprising because if that much time had passed and how the spots were being removed with ease by hand, this tells me the clear coat on the plastic is really soft. So good thing I did not use a machine, because that definitely would have been a danger close work area, and I probably would have given the customer the best and worst story of their life. Better to work slowly and safely, I say. And there it is. Finally, all of the laborsome work had finally been completed. It was then time to coat the car. Now, before doing so, I did a quick last inspection to see if there were any defects remaining, smears, or any other issue, and I was glad to know that there was no such thing. So I'm finally happy to show you guys which coating I used for this polished Cadillac Escalade. Gentlemen, I would like to introduce the first ceramic coating and installation for the channel. Gyeon's Q2 MOHS Evo 3-year paint coating. I did not choose this coating very lightly. I mean, it took days, several emails, and DMs to Gyeon directly, trying to figure out which ceramic coating to choose from their lineup that would be nice for me, but also satisfy my client. The customer did tell me that they wanted more gloss and slickness, and didn't really mind the other benefits as long as it had those two. So, naturally, MOHS Evo was the perfect candidate, as it specializes on those two pillars along with other protective benefits, which I'll elaborate on later. There is a lot of work to get done, so let's get on with the installation. For this coating, I will be using the following tools and products. Of course, MOHS 3-year coating, some extra coating applicator pads, 2 different towels, the first being a brand new unused low pile towel to wipe off the coating, and the second a brand new unused high pile towel to buff off and level the coating, a marker to cross off every side used and to discard afterwards, and finally an IPA to prep the paint just before applying the coating. That's pretty much it. The coating, a warehouse supply of towels, and a large bin to toss the used towels in, which I will explain what I will do to them later. Next, to unbox this coating, which I will gladly show you guys, as this is my first coating from Gyeon. Now, this is a very high quality unboxing experience. Everything was so nicely sealed and organized for you to unpack, which I had placed a towel to put the contents down because this kit is special to me. Upon first is a brand sticker, a maintenance guide after installation, the coating itself with an included applicator pad, an installation sticker, which is nice to include so you can date what and when the coating was applied for future reference, and finally a folded and quite large instructional manual including many coatings from Gyeon. Removing the plastic wrap from the coating bottle, I can confirm that it is nicely sealed and the bottle is indeed made of glass, as you can hear from the sound of my knife. So if you are new to coatings, please do not drop this. I will be installing this with recommended instructions, but of course, this is the Cardos channel, and I will be applying this coating under my terms of a quality and safe ceramic coating installation detail. Feel free to share your thoughts in the chat box down below. Time to apply the coating. First, I sprayed the panel with some IPA to remove any light amount of dust or residues to ensure proper adhesion of the coating. This vehicle was under the canopy for the whole 3 days, so really it was just dusty and nothing else to worry about. Before application, I shake the bottle to mix all of its fancy ingredients inside for consistent application, to which I then poured a generous amount of the applicator pad according to the instructions. For the first area, I did a small 2x2 work area just so I can get a feel of the product. I observed the coated area and saw the product sweat literally seconds after applying it, which is the indicator that it was ready to be wiped off. So from here, I just grabbed my low pile towel to wipe off the first initial layer of high spots and then switch to a second plush towel and level the coating to perfection. This 2-towel method is to ensure that all of the excess coating was removed properly to avoid any high spots. After using one side of the towel, I marked it off with a marker as an indicator to not use that side again and to flip to another. Because ceramic coatings have a tendency to harden, I am sure you can see how that would be an issue if I had wiped it off on the silica soiled side after some time. So a slash of the marker and flip to a clean side. Yeah, it's a shame having to discard a fresh brand new towel like this, but in all honesty, you can never be too careful, especially when applying a quality coating and performing a high ticket service. Most of the surfaces were going to get coated, the paint and plastic pieces throughout. The installation procedure is pretty straightforward. Pour a generous amount on the applicator, spread it on the surface, wait until it sweats, and then wipe it off. I had never used MOHS Evo before, and I'm glad to report that this coating is an easy one to install with low humidity and 75-degree Fahrenheit weather that I was working in. Just like the clay and polishing steps, I work in small sections, keeping an eye on the signs to wipe off because it literally sweats within 5 seconds of application with my weather. If you live in a colder environment, you may have to wait a bit longer, so if you're interested in this coating, make sure you do some thorough research before installation. I coated half of the vehicle with one applicator and switched to another for the other half. Considering how quick it was flashing, I guess it's easy to assume that also applies to the applicator, so just to be sure that I am not using a pad that had been solidified with silica crystals, I swapped to a clean one for peace of mind. When I spoke with Gyeon, they did say that I could coat the whole car with one pad on one side, but because I have a habit of being overprotective and the weather was a bit warm, I did not want to chance it. You can never be too careful for a coating installation. After all the surfaces were coated, I then discarded all tools and materials that came into contact with the coating. The gloves and plastics encasing went straight to the garbage bin, but the towels, I will repurpose them to either interior or engine only towels depending on how well they clean up. I will probably announce what I will do to them on social media, so make sure to follow me there if you want an update on how the coating was removed or minimized from the towels after a couple of baths in the washing machine. Gentlemen, this service took about 40 hours, almost 130 gigabytes of footage, and I learned a lot more in just 3 days. I am glad to finally announce this ceramic coating and paint enhancement detail is now complete. You guys have no idea how stressed, tired, frustrated, and yet excited, attentive, and prideful I was these 3 whole days of detailing and filming. This is indeed one of my most challenging and longest videos I had ever done, and I am proud to finally close the book on this project. The Decon wash removed months of grime, the iron remover and clay dislodged years of fallout, the polish brought back that classic Cadillac pearl white shine, and most importantly, the ceramic coating provided insane candy-like gloss and slippery slickness that for sure will aid with its hydrophobicity and self-cleansing properties. This vehicle had been enhanced and protected for the estimated 3 years this coating provides. I will show a hydrophobicity test later, so for now, enjoy this sneak peek as I work on that video another time. The befores and afters are just insane and for sure are going to be on the gram and on my business pages for others to see, if they are interested in a coating service. I think I walked around for like a solid 5 minutes just admiring all of the hard work that went into this Escalade, and even my neighbors visited to see and appreciated all of the progress made. Now, I did not show on camera, but I applied some tire shine and a layer of Gyeon cure on the coated surfaces to protect it for the next 2 weeks of curing and 12 hours of no water. This was recommended on Gyeon's instructions, and considering the client will be taking care of it, I said, why not? Shoot, it even made it even more glossy and slick, so that is a huge bonus that I am certain the customer will appreciate. And of course, all of the products and tools used in the very video will be linked in the description down below for you to check out in your own time. They are specialized links that will support the channel at no extra cost on your end, so if you use them, thank you so much, as that helps keep the content going. So if you see anything that is not listed here or have any questions, let me know in the chat box below this video.
And there you guys go, the first ceramic coating installation and the first paint enhancement for the channel. Woo, this came out really nice, and I'm so glad to be presenting it to you guys, documenting everything, showing you my entire procedure on how to install a ceramic coating and to do a full paint enhancement. Now, arguably, this is probably one of the most challenging details I've ever done. Not that it was difficult, but it was just a lot of work to be done. I am a one-man crew. I'm doing the recording session and doing the detail all by myself, all at the same time, and this took around 3 entire days to do this whole entire detail, and I'm so happy for the results. Right now the ceramic coating is still curing. I mean you can touch it now. It's really slippery slick right now, and it looks very glossy, and I am glad to be presenting it back to the client. Now obviously I'm not going to record their reaction, but I'm going to be so glad to present it back to them because it's really glossy compared to what it was before, and I'm really happy with the results. And that's going to be pretty much it. If you found this video entertaining, make sure you leave a like, subscribe down below for more future content like this down the road, and make sure to hit that bell icon so that way you're notified with every video that I upload. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Have a good time.
Yep. I slipped this at the end of the whole video. Here's a clip of my senior dog named Luma when she crashed in the shot while I was working. She is a 10-year-old Shepherd Lab mix that loves to boof and hoof with really expressive yawns. Unfortunately, she has an infection on her nose that sadly the doctor cannot do much because of her age. The risks of other issues happening after surgery are just so high that we, realistically speaking, cannot do much, so we only treat her with ointments on a regular basis. She has provided so much love for this family that I, in return, will take care of her. If you would like to as well, make sure to support the channel by watching the videos and using the links, as a portion of the money that I make does go to treating her health. Every cent counts, so if you are able to, please support my senior dog through the links provided on my channel. Thank you so much for the best wishes. I'm sure my dog appreciates it as well. Take care, and you guys have a very, very good time.
That's a good dog. That's a good